Hey guys, it's Quest. Today we'll be talking about Free Play Arcade. Free Play Arcade is a barcade in Texas. There's three locations: Arlington, Richardson, and Fort Worth. If you like to watch the video while you are listening to the podcast, I have put in a variety of content in this one, so I hope you enjoy it. Like and subscribe to show your support. Over to the podcast. Well, hello and welcome to the 22nd episode of the Alpha Lives podcast. I am your host, Quest. Our guest today is a world record holder, a master of the Yoga Flame, and the community liaison at Free Play Arcade. Without further ado, Chris Delp. Welcome to the podcast. Thanks for agreeing to do this interview.
My pleasure. I don't know how to follow an introduction like that. It's I guess the master of the yoga flame probably overstated, but yeah, the other parts are technically true.
I like it, Daleson. But my first question for you is, how did you get involved with Free Play?
So arcades were not a thing here in the States probably 5.5 years ago now, maybe 6 years ago. Oh, it feels like a lifetime, but it feels like yesterday. Arcades were 100% dead. I was walking. I was actually at a movie theater, and they had Pixels was the movie that was released, the Adam Sandler movie that was god awful. But they had an arcade there in our local theater, and it was sponsored by a place called Free Play Arcade that did not exist. I found it. It was right next to where I lived, walking distance, and not open yet. So they were planning to open this arcade, and I was literally the first person in line when they opened.
So that's when you first came in as a just a customer to Free Play.
Yes, and for the first year, I was just a customer, but I was also amazed by the fact that I had been to arcades back in the past, of course, but the scene was 100% dead. Yet they had a militant adherence to all original equipment, keeping them up. It was instantaneously not just an arcade, but the best arcade I'd ever been in, and I was shell shocked initially, and then I had the idea. I'd had the idea a few years prior to have a local gaming group because I missed arcades. I missed gaming with my friends. So I had always had the thought of doing it around a business. My thought is like a local game retailer, like GameStop. Um, but then this arcade popped up, and I'm like, okay, this is the one. This is the one I'm going to do it for. So I told the owner I was going to do it. I made a Facebook group. I started gathering all the people who positively reviewed the arcade, going around and meeting people, and just sort of forming the grassroots community for the arcade, which was totally not a thing. I remember distinctly sitting in a cocktail cabinet. That's the arcade machine that you sit down at,
Yep.
across from a kid who did not understand how to make the game go. He didn't understand the concept of a start button, and it blew my mind.
So when you started getting involved with that, was Super Turbo the first game? Because I know that's like the main thing that you're kind of involved with, from what I've seen.
Uh, no, actually. So they didn't launch with Street Fighter at all, which was awkward and odd. They got Hyper Fighting, the third version of Street Fighter 2, um, relatively quickly, and had that for about 6 months. Not even 6 months, a few months. Um, and it wasn't until the first Spring Series tournament, which was a brewery-sponsored series of cash tournaments on old arcade games, that they finally got Super Turbo in the arcade. And when they got it, it was in an American cab running on Turbo 2 settings. They really didn't know what they had. They knew they had what was a well-regarded game, but they didn't quite know how to run the tournament. So they had the Spring Series tournament, but the moment I saw Super Turbo on the floor, I remembered seeing people back in my Tekken days traveling the country playing Tekken Tag Tournament 1, playing Super Turbo and Super Guns. So I knew it was a thing. I knew it could withstand the test of time. So I knew that was the game to latch on to and to start building around.
Oh, nice, nice. It's a great game.
It is a great game.
Yeah.
It's held up 30 years later. Like, it's an unquestionably great game because this kind of longevity is just beyond reproach.
Yeah, I agree. You recently did a 25-hour charity stream. What did that
Uh-huh.
involve, and which can you talk about the charity that you're supporting?
We did for Extra Life. A lot of streamers. I don't know if it's worldwide, but certainly nationwide here in the States. Um, Support some local children's hospitals in the area. Ours was Cook Children's, a Tarrant County hospital. We do it every year. We have done it every year for 5 or 6 years, however long it's been now. And this one was definitely the most challenging. Normally, we just get a game and play it for 25 hours, get a group of people together, get them all to donate, lock them into the arcade. All this sounds like a horrible idea in 2020. So
Yeah.
we weren't able to do it like we would love to, which really hurts my soul. One of my favorite all-time moments at Free Play was having El Trouble and Killer Miller and Rizwan out from the East and West Coast to come to our place and just literally spend the entire night overnight playing Street Fighter 2 with us. Like, that was a wonderful, wonderful night. Couldn't do that. Ended up doing some game shows. Got together with a local comedy troupe, different streamers in the area, so we could all remotely do our thing.
Yeah,
Not
that's great.
Not quite the same, but
yeah, but it's a great cause.
yes, we had some help from the hospital as well. We've developed a relationship with them over the years because traditionally they're a number one donator during this period.
Okay, nice. Well done. Yeah.
Thanks. It all feels a little muted and weird this year.
Yeah, I know. It's a bit it's a bit different now. The world is a bit
Yes.
different now. Yeah. But
Yes.
that's why you said you've done it a few times before. Like, what is the most you've raised for the charity in one event?
I don't remember what we hit last year. I want to say it was a little over $5,000.
Oh, nice.
And that's just from the arcade. We're a part of a team as well, and I don't even know what they hit as a team.
Yep, that's great. I noticed you have a 03 cab, which is the Japanese version instead of an Alpha 3 one. Do you know the story why that was chosen?
I honestly, I think that's the one that they had. I don't go into the game selection here at Free Play. I don't own the place. I am the community liaison.
Yep.
I know. I think if memory serves me correct, having Grandmaster Challenge was a coincidence that it was the Japanese board, even though it was the preferred board. But once we latched onto it as a community, we were able to help them open their eyes to how fun it is to play on the Japanese cab and versus cities, and having not going with the old American standard, which is what we started with. 03, it's just a coincidence, to be honest with you.
Okay. But yeah, that's good that your coincidence was the Grandmaster version, because I know Super Turbo players are really particular about which one they play on.
Yes, yeah, that part, there was a lot of serendipity that comes along with this. Like, I had experience running Tekken tournaments decades prior to Free Play opening, and I just happened to be within walking distance. The ownership of Free Play, they don't have a long and storied history running arcades. It's a group of 2 lawyers, so that saves money on corporate lawyers, and a guy who did stage productions for Six Flags Over Texas here for decades. So a lot of practical fixing stuff, building stuff. Also, lawyers, the Super Arcade ran into a ton of trouble out in the California area. Just legal trouble, navigating city council meetings and stuff. We kind of got lucky just because of our makeup at the onset.
Okay, yeah, that definitely helps to have lawyers running it. Yeah, definitely.
More than I ever would have thought coming into this, because I always heard bad stories about lawyers, and man, not having to worry about what law you're about to violate right now is such a wonderful relief. I just get to do my job, build communities, and get people playing games, unless pandemic strikes.
Yeah, we had John Choi on last time, and he said organizing like an FGC event, lots of contracts and stuff you've got to handle, and you've got to like book it years in advance. So yeah, like
Yeah.
a lot of people from the gaming world, I don't think they realize how much work goes into it and how much importance it is to know the legalities of this stuff.
Yeah, yeah. If you want to do it, back at the onset, in 2000 when we would do something like this, there was no thought towards that. Profit sharing or profit at all was silly. Prizes were a something that was not not huge at all. We would just get as many people as we could together at an event, and like I can tell you from experience, once your events start becoming big enough that like other people notice, then yeah, if you ignore the legal aspects of it, it will come back to bite you. I've gotten cease and desist letters from the recording industry here in the stateside, just for having 80s music in the background. Like, I don't know if you can hear it now. I'm in the office to try and prevent it, but like we have 80s music in the arcade, and they'll shut down the rights of our Twitter videos or Twitch videos. It's insane. It's insane,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
I
yeah.
can't. There's no way I could deal with it all.
Yeah, I've heard of YouTubers having problems with that as well. Like
Yeah, Twitch is
they'll
clamping down as well. Yeah.
yeah, like even just walking through the street recording and then some background songs on, and then they get their channel taken down or something. It's insane.
Yeah, yeah, I can attest to that. Yes, I've had many videos taken down just because I happen to be walking through the arcade while "Love Is a Battlefield" is playing in the background.
Yep.
That is something I never would have considered when I'm just hitting start on Street Fighter. It's maddening.
Yep. So in free play, you have so many games there. Is there a game that like is played a lot more than you guys expected it to?
Let's see. It's. I mean, Super Turbo is the obvious answer, but Killer Queen.
No, but with Super Turbo, you'd expect it to be played a lot because it's well known, everyone likes it. But like, is there like underrated sort of games or games that you wouldn't expect to get attention that got a lot of attention?
Occasionally, you know what? There's a really obscure one. It's cyclical, so these games can go in and out of fad. But there was a game called Diet Go-Go, which was released by, I think, IREM or something like that. I don't even know the developer. It was a 90s game. It looks like little chibi models from the Let's Get Physical Olivia Newton-John video. It's insane. It's a single screen platformer. And for whatever reason, the community just got absolutely obsessed with this dumb little single screen platformer. And yeah, it didn't matter what location we put it in. People would be driving out to it just to play Diet Go-Go. So
Nice.
occasionally it happens.
Were they just playing like for the fun of it, or were they trying to get the high score, or what was it?
Both. I think the single screen platformer was infectious. I don't know what was the special sauce. Also, it was a ridiculous game. Like the concept, you're trying to avoid eating sweets so that you don't get fat. It's so bizarre, and yet playable. People got a kick out of it, and like anything, if you get local players, like your own group of friends or associates that are around the same skill level playing a game, it really doesn't matter what the game is. It can turn into a hype experience. You can build a community around literally any game.
Yep. Yeah, I've noticed that a lot of people like the community aspect of it as much, if not more, than the actual game itself.
Yeah, I think that's quintessential to arcades, especially in a modern era. If there is room for arcade, it's because of how compelling it is to play games with your friends, building a community.
But even here in Australia, the Alpha 3 community, some people that joined us, Alpha 3 wasn't even their favorite game, but they were really excited to do the tournaments because there's an active community around it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Alpha 3 is a great game. So the game itself, with those with those buoying Street Fighter games like Alpha 3, Third Strike, Super Turbo, they are so strong that they'll hold someone's attention months and months and months into their play, if not years. and then it's just getting the right group of people in that are around the same skill level, and yeah, it's magic. I could definitely build a scene around Alpha 3 or Third Strike or Super Turbo. Like these games are gold, and it's just a matter of putting it in front of the right people.
Yeah, I'd like to see more Alpha 3 from free play. Maybe a kids Alpha 3, which we'll get into the kids stuff later. But that's a general question. What do you think of Alpha 3?
I get confused by it. I don't understand the mechanics of it too terribly well. So my background's in Tekken, so not even 2D fighters. I've been playing Super Turbo for about 5 years now, so I have a feel for that. I'm learning Third Strike, which is its own weird beast. But with the Alpha series, like Alpha 2 is very normals heavy, so I can kind of like close my eyes and pretend it's ST to learn it. But Alpha 3, I don't quite understand the mechanics with the isms yet. We basically have like 4 tournaments of a year on it, and I relearn my character every single time. I'm trying to footsies my way through the game to varying degrees of success.
Yeah, there's a lot of mechanics to learn in Alpha 3. They really stacked all these new ideas into it.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's expected. Alpha 2 is a bit easier to pick up and play. But on the subject of that, you mentioned Tekken. I believe, is that the game you hold a world record in?
Let's see. I've broken the score. Let's see. I've broken the speed attack record in that one, and King and Balloon is like just a few odds and ends arcade games. There are some that are more weighted than others. Nothing I go writing home about, to be honest. King and Balloon, but yeah, Tekken the speed attack record.
You mean the time attack? Is that what you're referring to?
Yes.
Yeah. Time attack. Yeah, yes. Oh, that's pretty cool.
You can see how much I care. I don't even remember like the records. I know I posted it in the group. I did it on a Mortal Kombat cabinet.
Nice.
They had an awkward button layout, and I just sort of did it to show that it could be played on, and then I broke the time attack record.
Well, good job. I think it's an accomplishment. So,
Thank you.
2 cents.
I mean, it's good whenever you're doing like in fighting games in particular. Whenever you're going for single player records, you're glitching out the AI. You're kind of exploiting the AI because it's exploiting you. So it interests me less than just again beating my friends at Tekken or beating my friends at Street Fighter.
Yep. Fair enough. I understand. Well, in these free play tournaments, you have a lot of casual players in them. I haven't seen that anywhere else, even in Wednesday night fights, which I'm a big fan of. I'm guessing as the community liaison, you had a hand to play in that. How did this happen?
I think honestly, I think they're the most important players. If you don't have new players, then long term you're not going to have a scene. Having casual players, it's part of the way I conceptualize the community. Reaching out to other games, for example, players that may prefer Alpha 3, I'll do 4 tournaments on Alpha 3 a year so that they'll come and play the other games with us as well, forming the casual audience for another game. That creates the stepping stones for a potential new player, whether it's a kid or a 35-year-old, just to learn the new mechanics of the game and progress on a natural curve, as opposed to, going on to something like Fightcade and playing literally the world's best at your first game. That's not going to end well for you.
Yeah, it can be quite discouraging. I even know players that are strong players, but they still feel like they're very weak because the level of play is just so high on there.
Yeah, I don't think there's any shame in losing or being a new player or an intermediate. Honestly, I don't even think there's shame in plateauing, as long as you continue to be a part of a community. I run into this locally a lot. There are a lot of players that I have that have plateaued. Maybe they learn a janky broken character. They're abusing a high tier character, and it stunts their growth. That's kind of okay, because the person who comes up after them and learns how to beat their janky nonsense, that's an avenue. They become a stepping stone for the next player, and the community grows as a whole. And even I've seen players rise above their plateau because of that as well. It's, again, as long as you get a bunch of people of the same skill level playing together, you're going to be in store for good things. I don't know. That's how they did it in Japan way back in the day. I don't see why we can't do it now. Well, 2019 now. 2020 is more difficult, but
Yeah. Yep. I'm with you on that. But like, what did you do to encourage or to bring in um more casual players? Because there's a lot of people that enter these tournaments. Like, it seems like everyone around, the neighborhood wants to enter.
that's accurate. So that's low stakes. I think is important for the tournaments that I do. We have prizes that are honorary in nature. We have a giant custom championship wrestling belt that we give away for Tuesday night fights. We don't give it away. It's just a trophy, right? We hold up, take a picture.
Yep.
It's not for money. There is no entry fee. So keeping the barrier of entry as low as possible, and also keeping the stakes as low as possible, because the people who care, well, we just care. Like, I want to win because I want to win. When I get a cash prize, I put it in the bank, and that's nice too. But like, that motivation is always there and pure. And then keeping the stakes low keeps the salt as small as it can be, which is good for newer players. They don't have to feel mollywopped when they just start and kapow. And then it grows upon itself. One of the advantages of the arcade that I've been able to leverage is just getting people to try new games from other games that they want. So an NBA Jam player we have an NBA Jam league, and I get them to come and play the fighting games, and then some of the fighting game players go over there, and they create the positive feedback loop to get this whole thing going and grow in every game.
I see. So it's like the principle or the idea of playing in a social tournament is what you sell them on, opposed to the game itself, the specifics of the game.
Yes, yeah, and again, like, our new players and our intermediate players, they're the real valuable ones. Like, a champion will always emerge. Just the nature of a tournament, a champion will always be there. Whether your champion is the best in the world, or the best in the region, or the best in the state, it will happen. You got to keep focusing on the people who are playing the game and the people who are invested in playing the game, and that's your O2s and your 1 and 2 and those players in the tournaments. Like, if you're healthy on that side, then you just have a healthy scene.
True, true. Well, one of the most important groups, maybe the most important to invest into, is kids. And I believe you run the Super Turbo Kids ST tournament. It's important because it's like bringing in the next generation of retro Street Fighter players. How did this start?
Okay, it wasn't totally on purpose. When we started, it may have been with hyper fighting, but it was definitely in year 1 of free play. I would play. There was about 4 or 5 of us who were just committed to it early on, and we were playing because, hey, it's an arcade. This is a novelty. We'll play the Street Fighter 2 game. It doesn't matter if we played it before. Whatever. We're just having fun. It was purely organic. We didn't care that there was a nationwide or worldwide scene. We're just playing. And one guy brought his daughter, his 11-year-old daughter, Penelope, and she would not stop. This girl would get in line, take her turn, and lose, and go back to the end of the line, and do it again, and again, and again. And it didn't matter how many times she lost, she would not stop. And anybody who grinds in that manner, and she would go for 8 hours a day on Saturday, every other Saturday. Anybody who plays like that, they're going to get better. Lo and behold, Penelope got better. She became a bit of a local legend around here of the little girl who will kick your butt on Street Fighter. She took a few months off, and I was like, oh, I miss having Penelope around. So I started making the kids tournaments just as a vehicle to see if I could pull her back out. And then magic happened. I realized I kind of have a passion for showing new people the game. it, like you said, having kids play is a big help. I can hear them screaming behind me actually right now.
Yeah.
It's a big help for the community. Like I said, I've discovered that I actually really enjoy showing the little ones how to throw a fireball. I like to look in their eyes when they realize they can keep hitting crouch roundhouse with dictator and he'll slide and keep meaty sliding, and like it just the light in their eyes is something that's special. So I've expanded it as much as I can, at least until this year.
But how do you get them to focus and learn?
Okay, so first of all, whatever character that they choose is the right character. Like
Okay.
It doesn't matter if it's too hard. If that character speaks to them, it's the right character. So I try to have as simplistic of a strategy as humanly possible to explain to these kids. And sometimes they're autistic, sometimes they're very young, and sometimes they're veterans. But if I can break it down into, Chun-Li's kicks are high priority, keep hitting this button, right? That's nice. Or Chun-Li's kicks are high priority and that kid's just hitting the button, so you pick T-Hawk and keep jumping and hitting the jab button. Just breaking it down on the most very, very basic of levels, and then trying to teach them basically one special move. I can teach them to mash it out, and that's compelling. And if I can teach them one special move and I see that light in their eyes of the joy of execution, then I know I'm looking at a Street Fighter player just in its primordial stages.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I see what you mean. Have you had any like, I know from having nieces and nephews, like when they lose, they often find it very discouraging. I find more so than an adult.
Mm-hmm.
Do you is there a way you encourage them to go through that process of losing?
It's different for everybody. A lot of times, learning to lose is something that I know a lot of adults haven't figured out yet. So it's definitely individual. We've certainly had kids crying on losses. It's neither here nor there. Like it's no rhyme nor reason on when they cry either, because I definitely have had 6-year-olds go on massive runs and get into the top 3 of the tournament and then break down in tears, having lost, having never played the game before. They're number 3 in the tournament of a game that you wouldn't expect a 6-year-old being a near Street Fighter champion, but it's happened. And then they start crying. I don't know. Just trying to show them a path to improving. And letting them know that I lose all the time. It's just kind of a parents help. It's something you have to feel out, but I think really articulating what role losing has in learning and how you cannot be a champion without learning through trial and error, through loss.
Yeah, good advice. Let's talk about the Super Turbo Spring Series. Flying players in
one more thing with the kids. Don't be afraid to let them cry. It's okay. Like, it hurts sometimes. If they're feeling bad, it's okay. And we'll go play another game. That's an okay thing.
So accept it, don't tell them off and be like, why are you crying? Whatever.
Yeah, no, that's not gonna help.
Yeah. I know.
Or yelling the answer to them if you would have just blocked. Right? Yeah. Even if you're right, it doesn't matter. They're not emotionally ready to handle that right then.
Fair enough. Well, let's talk about the Super Turbo Spring Series. You were flying players in from Japan. In the latest one that was planned before the current restrictions happened, and you have to get to cancel it, it says up to $10,000 in prize money. How does that work? How does it work up to $10,000?
I wasn't even clear on it myself. They were in previous years it had just been a $5,000 pot or a $2,000 pot. He was tying it into us hitting a number of players, and I can't remember what the players was, 64, something that we would have hit.
Yeah.
So I think they just wanted to tie it into attendance overall of the tournament.
Okay.
But yeah, it's either sponsored by the arcade, that's where the prize money came from, or a combination of the arcade and corporate sponsors. There's a lot of craft breweries here in Texas where Free Play is located.
Yep.
And frequently they would be the sponsors of Spring Series, contributing to the prize money.
Oh, nice. I heard in another interview that you gave, you actually went over to Japan to bring the best players back. Like, where did you go and who did you get in contact with?
Tokyo is where I went. I had already previously met Odo-chan in Boston when he came out to the Red Bull Proving Grounds tournament there a few years back. That was his first trip to the States. So I met him and Anakin there. So I already had an inroad with the best.
Yeah.
But yes, Free Play paid for me to go out to Tokyo, and I did feel very privileged. I knew that I was going out there to find players to bring back. I also knew through Rizwan, who had come out to our 24-hour charity event and previous Spring Series, that Matsun from Tokyo was very instrumental in helping international communities get a inroads with Japanese Grandmaster players. So I reached out to Matsun. Also, Tomo was living in Los Angeles at the time, so was able to network through him. And also, another local player that went with me, Sean Crane, was instrumental in helping me tie myself into the scene right then as it was. And we've all watched the GameSpot versus videos, so we knew where to go. That's for sure.
Do you speak Japanese, or did you have a translator with you?
Neither. I got the pocket Wi-Fi and had my Google Translate, and I got to be honest, like traveling in the last 5 years, pre this year, has been pretty much a snap as far as the language goes. I don't speak a bit of Japanese. I would put the Translate app on, and it would go back and forth. And I very distinctly remember having a conversation in an owl cafe with about a 65-year-old woman from Nagasaki, and we were both fascinated that we could just sort of talk about how owls are cute together.
Yeah, it's a bit random, but yeah, I imagine you would remember that. Yeah.
And it was an interesting experience. I didn't have a language barrier to speak of, so and just modern technology. As long as you get your Wi-Fi and smartphone in order, you're gonna be good in Japan. Google Maps helps with the public transit quite a bit. I didn't even find myself locked to a place. It was honestly a joy.
That's awesome. So, in the previous tournaments, you did single elimination instead of double elimination. Why did you choose to go with single?
So for Spring Series, we do double of them. But for lead up tournaments, we'll play around with the format. The most effective tournament formats to me for casual players are team tournaments. So we always have balanced team tournaments that are, I call them pro-ams. And I actually got this from GameSpot Versus because we went out to Tokyo and we were terrible compared to those players. I remember Yakitori beat me 40 straight times with T-Hawk, and I swear in my head all I could hear is T-Hawk win perfect. Like that's all I heard. So we were the scrubs in their tournament. They had us play first, and then whenever we'd lose, well, here's Yakitori to get our back. Okay, awesome. He's good. So I borrowed that format immediately. It's gold. It helps for casual players, and also single elimination. Again, we're talking about low stakes and low barrier of entry, right? You play, and if it goes badly, well, you lose. And we start again. Like that's part of the beauty of Street Fighter is you fight until it's KO, and then you hit start again, and it all starts over again. Like the instances are just that. They are not related to each other. You get better over time, and we're all done, and that was awesome, and we're celebrating your victory, and we're actually playing again. So yeah, single elimination is a good format. it's not a good format for a major, in my opinion, because there's so much money on the line. But if it's just a tournament for the sake of tournaments, I think it is actually not a bad format.
Yeah, it's good pairing like casual players with more experienced players because they can like kind of encourage and teach each other to, or teach a newer player.
Yeah, the
And yeah,
positive feedback also from single LM. Um, if you accidentally get a win that you don't deserve, uh,
yep,
in quotes, don't deserve, right? Something crazy happened, you got a good read, and you managed to win. That infectious feeling, that positive feedback of finally winning a match, even though you know your opponent was better, and you're moving on, is magical and part of the reason that you keep coming back to tournaments. So it's more accessible for single of them.
yep, I see. What turnouts have you had for the previous spring series? Like
What
roughly?
tournaments?
No, sorry. What turnouts in terms of numbers and entrants have you had for
Oh
previous spring series?
goodness.
A rough idea.
Geez, I don't know. There's been so many because the spring series is just that. It's a series of tournaments. So I don't know in total. I wouldn't even guess
Yeah.
thousands.
So like,
Like
would it average around 1,000? Would you say?
like for the whole. No. I think for like all the spring series combined, I think it's
Ah,
something
okay.
like that.
Yeah,
I might be underselling it though. No, because
yeah,
we had near 100 for Super Turbo. I don't know.
yeah.
Maybe 1,000 a year.
It looks like
That's
there's a
good enough.
it looks like there's 1,001 tournament in the background. So many people around.
Okay, that's just free play. That's just going to the arcade, and obviously
Yeah,
not this year. But like
yeah,
normally Friday and Saturday, if everything's right in the world at free play, it turns into a club, and it's just bonkers. There's 80s music happening. I try not to do tournaments on Fridays and Saturdays because I don't want to interfere with the good business happening, which means we get to keep our arcade machines.
I see. Yeah,
I don't even think about the free play model being good for learning the games either. Like we're not fighting over quarters anymore or
yeah,
credits. You just the cost of entry at free play is, I mean, beyond the $10 at the door, but like it's the time invested in coming back around and waiting your turn to start again. So
yep. Yeah, I get you. You're also advertising Smash Brothers 64 tournament. Will free play start having console tournaments or more consoles there, even on free play?
we have some consoles in wallcades. So we have like custom built wallcades with a. There's one with a PS4 in it. There's one with a Sega Genesis in it. That's more of a recent development too. It's not something we've traditionally done. We've tried to stay arcade exclusive. It, kind of CRT snobs here. So
Yep.
having a PS4 working off of an LCD screen was a weird thing. We have it now. Plus, with games like Streets of Rage 4 coming out and them being awesome, it's cool to play them. So
Yeah.
I'm happy to see it, but it is a fairly recent thing. As far as Smash 64, that was planned for Spring Series, but it didn't happen. So I can't even take. I feel weird taking any kind of credit for that because it never happened. You know, as much as it
Yep.
was definitely going to happen, we didn't get there.
Yep. Let's talk about the Billy Mitchell controversy. For those who don't know, Billy Mitchell is an arcade record holder. He got the highest score in Pac-Man and Donkey Kong in the 80s. He's in the Guinness World Record. Did you get a chance to meet him?
I did.
Oh, nice. What was
Uh,
he like in person?
Very much like his persona. Um, he is very talented. He's very self-assured. He knows how talented he is. He knows how good he is at
Yep.
the games. So I don't know. He definitely, at least in public, he tends to match his persona, which is, I don't know, cocky.
That's good. I reckon that's good because when you see someone and you meet them in real life and they're totally different, like it throws people off sometimes. Like you kind of want them to be the character you imagine.
Yeah, he very
Yeah.
much is. He very much is. Like
Yeah.
he has the hair. He wears the red, white, and blue tie. Um, he will happily tell you about the days in the 80s of him traveling around the country setting records. He has 1,000 different personal idioms that he likes to tell about his own gaming. I remember him telling me the significance of the dots in his signature being the extra dots that he got in Pac-Man of his perfect game, and kind of rubbing it in the face of a Canadian player who
Yeah.
previously had the record. And I think that story like goes right to the core of like kind of his persona. He's not a I don't think he's a bad guy. I don't think he's a bad guy. I think
Yeah. Do you think
I what's that?
do you think he plays it up a bit?
I don't know where the line is between like even meeting him. He plays it up so incredibly like all the time. He's always on with this. He's a great gamer. He definitely has my respect as a gamer. It's just it's not how I would go about it for sure, but he's got his merits when it comes to gaming. Now that's separate from the
Controversy.
controversy, yeah. Or
Yeah. Well,
it's kind of separate. Like I don't think the controversy would be nearly as important if he wasn't such an easily hateable figure.
yeah. Yeah. Well, look, I've heard a few different stories about the controversy, which is said allegedly he faked high scores in more recent times using MAME and trying to pass it off as he was on the arcade. Is that correct?
That's the gist of the controversy. The video that
Yeah.
was submitted to Twin Galaxies that he was credited for the world record for. Um, they basically went over it like the Zapruder film and found, I want to say it was how the girders were animated, indicating that it was from an emulator. And as far as I believe it's in litigation still, but it seemed to me like the evidence as presented, it looked like it was indeed using an emulator on the videos. So, and
Yep.
it's very weird because like I've also seen him play in an arcade. I've seen the man score 600 plus thousand on Donkey Kong, which I couldn't fathom doing.
Yeah.
So he's clearly world class talent. He definitely is. Um, so why I don't know why he would submit that, but it appears that he did. So there's your controversy, right?
Yeah. Well, I heard at Free Play he actually faked one playing Pac-Man there, and then he is that right?
Did he do a fake one at Free Play?
Yeah, I believe. Well, that's what the
No.
comments was saying. Or was that not true?
All of our arcade machines are authentic.
Yeah.
We'll open them up if anybody ever has any like questions about it. Um, he has a sticker. Billy has a sticker, part of his shtick, I guess, that says "not name," and he'll like paste it on the cabinet that he plays on. It says "not name."
Yeah.
If he approves of your cabinet. So we actually have on our Donkey Kong his "not named" sticker, and the owner of Free Play was quite amused to have a classic arcade cabinet slightly defaced by Billy Mitchell.
So you can say that all the records, or not records, but all the recorded footage of him playing a Free Play, that was legit. There was no tampering. He didn't
Hundred
tamper with
percent,
it.
hundred
Okay.
percent legit. And like, not only that, the controversy was there before he came to Free Play.
Yeah.
So he was looking to play, and to his credit, he's going out there and playing live in arcades now, like constantly, to try and gain his reputation back. So we knew this was a thing. We knew it was important to him to have the right machine. It's important to us to have the right machine out there. So our technicians they took it off the floor, made sure that everything was in working order, double, triple checked, made sure that something that, one piece of the board wasn't fake or anything. No, it was 100% legit. I am confident in any score that he posted at Free Play.
Okay. Cool. Do you think his records should have been erased like Twin Galaxies did?
Uh,
Assuming
First,
the allegations are true, right?
yeah, I think so. I think so. Yeah, you can't
I don't
prove
mean
that
just
someone
his
has
recent
cheated.
allegations, but I mean like throughout history, all his records
Hmm.
in the past should they have been deleted?
It's a complicated question. I think so because like you can't if you can't verify something, then it's hard to unring a bell. You if you get busted doing something like that, then it really does invalidate, at least record wise, what you're doing. Now you can still have a competition and play. Um, I've used a Game Genie before, and I can still play you straight up in a Street Fighter tournament, and the results of that are real, right? It's not like that, but once you submit something that has been proven to be cheating, and that's in litigation, so I don't know that I can 100% say that is what happened. But um, if that's the case, then and if you as a governing body believe someone has cheated, yes, you DQ them, you get them out of there. Um, so if somebody cheated in Street Fighter, they're DQ'd, and I would very much consider banning them if they hit a player. I don't know. It's hard because we're Street Fighter players, right? Like the equivalent is not the same. So I couldn't even imagine somebody like punching another player. Like that's the only thing I could think of is on that level of cheating. You can't really cheat on a fighting game, right? You just hit the button.
Yeah, well, you'd have to macro cheat, but yeah, you can't.
Well,
Yeah,
yeah, but in an arcade setting, like that's not even possible.
yeah,
Um,
you'd have to hack into the arcade machine.
right.
Yeah.
I yeah, it's pretty unprecedented in that world. So yeah, I understand why they came down with a heavy hand. As a frequent tournament organizer, I would be heavy handed as well.
Okay, fair enough. My last question for you is: Free Play has a food and bar menu. It appears. Like, what do they have on their menu? What?
Mostly flatbreads like pizzas and sandwiches. They're I love the chicken and green chili flatbread.
Yeah.
I eat the barbecue toast sandwich all the time. It's I'm very very I don't know. I eat here all the time. I'm very happy with the food here at Free Play. And as far as the bar, I actually don't drink, but it's very very key to the business that people come and enjoy themselves, and um, I'm appreciative of the bar and the restaurant portion of Free Play because I would not get to play all these awesome games and have everything that I've had these past 5 years if it wasn't for that. So, not a drinker myself. I know we have. I'm sitting in a building with 25 taps of craft beer.
Yeah.
I think it's 25. Let me open the loud door and see. 26 taps.
Okay. Jeez.
So it's a good selection here. I'm happy that it's a good selection here.
Yeah.
But it's not actually for me. I like coffee myself.
Yeah, I'm not a drinker, but I imagine that some of the Japanese visitors would like it.
Oh my God, yes, yes. Oda-chan bought himself a drink local beer shirt with a Texas flag on it. He was all about it.
Yeah.
Yes, they were quite happy to be here in the craft beer haven of Texas.
Well, look, thanks for coming on to the podcast.
My pleasure.
Thanks for listening to the Alpha List podcast. Like and subscribe if you haven't already. Check out the Free Play Arcade Facebook group and YouTube channel in the description below. We'll be back in 2 weeks with a brand new episode. We'll see you then.
Thanks, Quest.